construction site isn't for everyone. There are many risks and hazards. The work environment, the equipment, the materials, the tasks and workers, the schedules, the hours, even company management are all potential sources of danger. It's simply the nature of the business. As the principal contractor or employer, it's your responsibility to ensure the prevention of work accidents and occupational diseases on the job site. And not just because it's the law, but also because these accidents can have a significant impact on your productivity as well as on your workers and their families. Managing occupational health and safety means implementing a prevention program, an action plan adapted to your reality. As a member of the APCHQ, you have access to a number of existing prevention programs in every type of construction trade. Each program has its own set of action sheets. Each sheet identifies a risk that could be present on your job site. And for each risk, there are details of what preventive measures and control methods you can put in place to protect your workers. A prevention program is a great starting point, but managing occupational health and safety is a never-ending process of continuous improvement. You must continually identify, correct, and control all hazards in the workplace. If you hold off on identifying the hazards until it's time to start the job, you can count on unwelcome surprises that will prevent the job from getting underway. What you need to do is identify the hazards during the planning stage. When identifying a hazard, the most important thing to do is analyze each aspect of the work to be done. The equipment and materials to be used, the tasks to be performed, the work environment, and yes, even your workers. 2 good tips for identifying hazards. 1. Consult your register of accidents, incidents, and first aid. And 2. Listen to what your workers have to say. Once you've identified the workplace hazards, it's time to take action and correct the situation. Start with the hazards that can have serious and immediate consequences on your workers, such as those considered zero tolerance. Then, correct the most frequent hazards. And finally, all other hazards. You can correct the situation by putting in place corrective measures that eliminate hazards at the source, minimize the likelihood of accidents, or lessen the severity of potential injuries. There are many solutions to choose from. You can substitute materials or equipment, implement engineering controls, increase awareness, introduce administrative controls, or provide personal protective equipment. It's often necessary to combine several solutions in order to ensure effective results. For each one that you select, it's important to first establish a time frame and designate a person in charge before implementing the corrective measures. Once the hazards have been corrected, it's time to put the controls in place. This step helps ensure that the chosen solutions are both effective and sustainable. Because even if the chosen solution is the best one, it might not be properly understood or enforced by your workers. So it's important that you properly inform and train your workers and establish a monitoring system to ensure that the new controls are enforced. The prevention programs provided by the APCHQ are indispensable when it comes to planning a safe and secure job site. But remember, every job site is unique, and workplace hazards can change and evolve as construction progresses. That's why it's important to follow the Identify, Correct, Control process to ensure proper management of occupational health and safety. This will help reduce work accidents and occupational diseases and increase productivity. And that will ensure you avoid poor management that can lead to work stoppages, notices of correction, or even statements of offense from the CNESST. Prevention is a team effort and everyone's responsibility. It never ends. And remember, APCHQ advisors are always here to help.
My name is Munzir Dale. I'm a professor of electrical engineering and computer science at MIT. The partnership that we have
about ISO 45001. So let's get started. What is ISO 45001? ISO 45001 is an internationally recognized standard developed by the International Organization for Standardization, otherwise known as ISO. It provides a framework that organizations can use to implement effective occupational health and safety management systems. The goal is to prevent work-related injuries, illnesses, and accidents, and promote a proactive approach to employee safety. ISO 45001 was published in March 2018 and replaces OHSAS 18001, a previous standard for occupational health and safety management. ISO 45001 is designed to be compatible with other ISO management system standards such as ISO 9001 for quality management and ISO 14001 for environmental management, and to facilitate their integration and implementation. ISO 45001 specifies a set of requirements for an occupational health and safety management system. It covers planning and implementing policies and objectives for occupational health and safety, identifying and assessing occupational health and safety risks and opportunities, establishing controls and measures to prevent or mitigate risks and improve performance, providing resources, training, and communication to support occupational health and safety, monitoring, measuring, and evaluating occupational health and safety performance, and effectiveness. Continually improving the occupational health and safety management system based on feedback and results. ISO 45001 is applicable to organizations of all sizes and types in all sectors and industries. It is intended to help organizations to create a safe and healthy work environment, prevent accidents and injuries, and promote employee well-being and productivity. Is certification to ISO 45001 mandatory? No. ISO 45001 certification is not a mandatory step for organizations implementing the standard. The purpose of ISO 45001 is to protect workers and improve OHS performance, and this can be done effectively without certification. Organizations often choose to go for certification because of requirements they face outside of the standard, such as local regulations, contracts, or supply chain preferences of companies they want to win over as customers, and because certification gives them a verified way to demonstrate their commitment to OHS management. Certification is gained through third-party auditing. That means an independent certification body checks the requirements are being met. ISO does not perform certification audits. There are other ways to demonstrate requirements are being met, known as second-party auditing. That's when a customer, client, or partner organization checks everything is in place. Internal auditing performed by the organization itself is included in ISO 45001 requirements. Here's 5 reasons why ISO 45001 is important. Number 1, workplace safety. ISO 45001 is an international standard focused on occupational health and safety management systems. Its primary goal is to provide a framework for organizations to create a safe and healthy work environment for employees, contractors, and visitors. By implementing ISO 45001, organizations can identify and mitigate potential hazards, prevent accidents and injuries, and promote overall employee well-being. Number 2, legal compliance. Adhering to occupational health and safety regulations is critical for any organization. ISO 45001 helps organizations align their practices with legal requirements and regulatory frameworks related to workplace safety. By complying with the standard, organizations can reduce the risk of legal violations, avoid penalties, and protect their reputation from damage associated with non-compliance. Number 3, risk management. ISO 45001 emphasizes a systematic approach to risk management in the context of occupational health and safety. It encourages organizations to identify, assess, and control risks that could impact the well-being of employees and others in the workplace. By implementing effective risk management strategies, organizations can minimize the likelihood and severity of workplace incidents, thereby improving overall safety performance. Number 4, continual improvement. ISO 45001 promotes a culture of continual improvement in occupational health and safety. Organizations are required to establish processes for monitoring, measuring, and evaluating their safety performance, as well as setting objectives for improvement. Regularly reviewing and updating their safety management systems enables organizations to identify areas for enhancement, implement corrective actions, and improve overall safety performance over time. Number 5, stakeholder confidence. Conformity with ISO 45001 demonstrates an organization's commitment to occupational health and safety. It provides assurance to employees, customers, suppliers, and other stakeholders that the organization takes workplace safety seriously and has implemented a systematic approach to managing occupational health and safety risks. ISO 45001 is important because it helps organizations protect their workforce, comply with legal requirements, manage risks effectively, drive continual improvement, and build stakeholder confidence in their commitment to occupational health and safety. Who can benefit from ISO 45001? ISO 45001 is applicable to organizations of all sizes and industries, ranging from manufacturing and construction to service sectors. Whether you're a small business or a multinational corporation, ISO 45001 can help you establish a solid framework for managing occupational health and safety risks effectively. It's designed to be flexible and adaptable to various organizational contexts. What is the difference between ISO 45001 and OH-SAS 18001? OH-SAS 18001 was the previous standard for occupational health and safety management systems, replaced by ISO 45001 in 2018. Here are the key differences. Structure and integration. ISO 45001 uses the Annex SL structure, the same as the other ISO management system standards like ISO 9001 and ISO 14001, making it easier to integrate with other management systems. Emphasis on leadership and employee participation. ISO 45001 places greater emphasis on leadership engagement and active employee participation, embedding health and safety practices into the organization's culture. Risk management and prevention. ISO 45001 focuses on identifying and controlling risks rather than just hazards, encouraging a proactive approach to risk management, and preventing long-term health issues related to ergonomic and psychological factors. Scope and context of the organization. ISO 45001 requires organizations to consider the broader context of their operations, including the needs and expectations of workers and other interested parties for a comprehensive view of occupational health and safety. Continual improvement. ISO 45001 promotes continual improvement by requiring processes for monitoring, measuring, and evaluating safety performance, setting objectives for ongoing enhancement. OH-SAS 18001 has been phased out, and organizations certified to that standard were encouraged to transition to ISO 45001 by October 2021. ISO 45001 offers a more comprehensive and globally recognized framework for managing occupational health and safety, aligning with other ISO management system standards and promoting continual improvement. Can ISO 45001 be integrated with other management systems? Yes. ISO 45001 can be integrated with other ISO management system standards like ISO 9001 on quality management and ISO 14001 on environmental management due to its common structure. What is the difference between ISO 9001 and ISO 45001? ISO 9001 and ISO 45001 are two different standards focusing on different aspects of organizational management. Here are the key differences. Scope and focus. ISO 9001 is a standard for quality management systems, ensuring organizations meet customer requirements and deliver consistent product and services quality. ISO 45001, on the other hand, focuses on occupational health and safety management systems, aiming to create a safe and healthy work environment and prevent work-related injuries and illnesses. Objectives. ISO 9001 aims to improve customer satisfaction, enhance product quality, and drive overall business performance. In contrast, ISO 45001 aims to protect the health and safety of workers, prevent accidents and incidents, and promote employee well-being. Requirements. The requirements for ISO 9001 and ISO 45001 differ significantly due to their different focus areas. ISO 9001 emphasizes customer focus, leadership, process approach, risk-based thinking, and continual improvement, all with regards to quality management. ISO 45001, on the other hand, focuses on occupational health and safety, covering hazard identification, risk assessment and control, legal compliance, worker involvement, and emergency preparedness. Context and leadership. Both standards emphasize the importance of leadership commitment in considering the context of organizations. However, ISO 9001 places greater emphasis on understanding the needs and expectations of customers and other external stakeholders, while ISO 45001 is more about the interests of workers and creating a safe work environment. ISO 9001 and ISO 45001 can complement each other, and organizations can benefit from implementing both standards to enhance both quality and occupational health and safety performance. That wraps up our discussion on ISO 45001. Remember, implementing ISO 45001 is a proactive approach to creating a safe and healthy work environment. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more informative content, and don't forget to share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Stay safe, everyone.
Okay, good morning. Let me welcome you to day 12 of the first scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. Today is Monday, 29th September 2025, and is the day dedicated to occupational health. We are going to start, and before we do that, we'll start with the national items. The national items. The national item followed by the University of Port Harcourt item. Please, let's rise for those items.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
The University of Port Harcourt item.
On the green lowlands and swampy plains of the New Calabar River stands the University of Port Harcourt, a citadel of learning and excellent education. A home of academic enthusiasts, searching for knowledge and wisdom, enlightenment, and self-reliance, our mission. Our hope in the future is rooted in God. The vision of our fathers shining in the skies. Opportunities unlimited and equal. Our progeny citizens of the universe, from far and near, the pride of Uniport. Because unique, Uniport. Unique, Uniport. Unique, Uniport.
Thank you. You can resume your seats. My name is Professor Best Odinoha. I'm the director of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. Let me once again welcome you to day 12 of the first scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, holding virtually predominantly, and today is dedicated to occupational health. I'm sure that some of you do not have the agenda for the day. Let me quickly read that out. So we have taken the national item. The next will be the etiquette for today for participation. Then the next will be to have to establish the protocol. To establish the protocol, which I will do, which will be done by me. Then the welcome address by the director of the School of Public Health. Then after that, after that is the chairman's speech, and the chairman is Chief Doctor. Yes, I say Doctor deliberately because he's a double doc. Roland Obed White he is the chairman of the day, and after his opening remark, we'll get the speech by the special guest of honor, Dr. Ikem Emmanuel John, the Honorable Commissioner Honorable Commissioner for Health, Akwa Ibom State. Then after that, we'll get the Goodwill messages from the Occupational Health Caucus of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria and the Society of Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria. They will be giving us goodwill message. They will be sending goodwill messages. Then after that will be the citation of the keynote speaker, and the keynote speaker is the distinguished Professor Steve Abba, respected occupational health physician and the former acting vice chancellor of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo, Benue State. And then after that, he will give the keynote lecture. And after the keynote lecture, we have cultural displays by some of the ethnic groups of Rivers State. And then after the cultural display, we'll have the panel discussion. And the panel discussion will be on the theme, which is on universal access to occupational health services in sub-Saharan Africa. And we have listed distinguished panelists, including Dr. Onyinye Mba, Dr. Folorunso Alamina, and Dr. Okechukwu Ibiauchi, excellent panelists who will be discussing the theme. Okay, so these are the items listed for today's event. So we can go ahead and hear the etiquette for participation.
Etiquette for participants at the first scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. Date: Monday 15th to Tuesday 30th September 2025. Venue: virtual. You are cordially welcome to the first scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. To ensure a smooth, distraction-free conference, please take note of the following guidelines. Before joining the conference, test your technology. Attend using a computer, not a phone, to reduce distractions from calls. Make sure your device can handle Zoom. Ensure a stable internet connection, preferably use Wi-Fi or internet modem. Avoid relying solely on your phone. Check that your microphone and camera are functioning properly. Prepare your space. Choose a quiet, well-lit room. Use a neutral or blurred background to minimize distractions. Dress appropriately. Wear professional attire just as you would for an on-site conference. Log in early. Use your full name when logging in. Join a few minutes before the 10 a.m. start time to resolve any technical issues beforehand. During the conference, keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking to avoid background noise. Stay focused. Give your full attention to the proceedings. Avoid multitasking. Video guidelines. Turn on your video to remain engaged in the conference. Turn off your video if it may be distracting to others. You would be required to turn on your video when speaking. Ensure your attire and background are appropriate. Contribute thoughtfully. Use the raise hand feature to indicate you wish to speak and wait to be recognized. Use the chat feature for relevant comments, questions, or to signal contributions. General conduct. Be respectful. Maintain polite and professional language in all interactions. Maintain professionalism. Conduct yourself as you would in an in-person setting. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will now establish the protocol for today, day 12 of the first scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. And today is Monday, 29th September 2025. The first on the protocol list is our Vice Chancellor, Professor Obunare Abraham Goodwill, the 9th Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, and the recipient of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health Platinum Award. Next on the list is the special guest, Dr. John, the Honorable Commissioner of Health, Akwa Ibom State. The chairman of the day, Chief Dr. Roland Obed White, medical doctor and doctorate degree holder in occupational safety and health, a distinguished alumnus of the University of Port Harcourt. He was so remarkable that even the great Professor Nimi Briggs once remarked about him, Doctor, God bless you and also bless your double heart. The keynote speaker, Professor Steve Abba, Professor of Community Medicine and Occupational Health and former acting Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo. And he's also the chairman of the Occupational Health Caucus of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria. I must say that he's one of the most influential occupational and environmental health academic and professional in Nigeria. The deputy vice chancellors of our university, Professor Chukwudi Onyaso, DVC Administration, Professor Rosemary Ogu, DVC Academic, Professor Angela Frank Briggs, DVC Research and Development. Members of the University of Port Harcourt Governing Council, I want to especially recognize Professor Kelechi Okonta, Professor of Cardiothoracic Surgery, and Professor Olufemi Martins Adesope, the multi-talented Professor of Agric Extension and Development Studies. The Registrar of our university, Dr. Mrs. Gloria Chinda, and other principal officials of the university, the acting provost of the College of Health Sciences, Professor Ngozi Ekeke, Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Kinikanwo Anele, Deans of Faculties. I want to especially recognize the dean of my faculty, that is Faculty of Clinical Sciences, Professor Macklin Akpa, Professor Obunge, the dean of the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, and Professor Fada Walter Ihejirika, the dean of the Faculty of Media and Communication Studies. The directors of institutes and centers, I want to especially recognize the center leader of the African Center of Excellence for Public Health and Toxicological Research, Professor DST Ogaji, and the director of the Center for Occupational Safety, Health, and Environment. The discussants, I want to especially recognize the discussants, the panel discussants on the theme of the day, which is on universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria. Dr. Onyinye Mba, consultant, community physician, a key resource person in our postgraduate program in occupational health, so much so that I affectionately call her the SPH Professor of Public Health. We also have as one of the panelists, Dr. Foronshaw Alamina, consultant, community and occupational health physician, and a occupational health physician with an international oil company. The other panelist, Dr. Okechukwu Ibiawuchi, medical director of Palmer's Hospital Limited, one of the foremost providers of occupational health services in Port Harcourt. And if he's around, Dr. Bruce Ibiso will also be one of the panelists. Distinguished guests, I want to especially recognize the president, executive, and members of the Society of Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria. I want to especially recognize a key member of the society and my medical school classmate, Dr. Selepre Orubibi, PSS, the prime staff storer, and the chairman, executive, and members of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, River State Branch, and of course, the caucus members of the Occupational Health Caucus. Professors, lecturers, and supervisors of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. I want to especially recognize Professor Charles Tobin West, the Deputy Director of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, and a former acting Chief Medical Director of the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. I want to also recognize the coordinator, lecturers, and supervisors in our occupational health division, especially Dr. Onyemba, Dr. Bruce Ibiso, and the double doc, Roland Obed White, who is also the chairman of the occasion. I want to also recognize professors who worked with us at some point in our occupational health program, especially Professor Emmanuel Agowa of the University of Nigeria and Soka, and Professor Kingsley Eyinaya Douglas of our university. Past and present lecturers of my department, that is the Department of Preventive and Social Medicine in Medical School, especially our current head of department, Professor Madoka, and the others. And of course, Dr. Alapere, Dr. Mo, Dr. Kano, Dr. Wogu, Dr. Waforom, Dr. Wadiaro, etc. they are hereby recognized. Then members, management, and staff of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, especially the admin secretary and the finance officer, they are recognized. And then ladies and gentlemen, students, colleagues, students of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, ladies and gentlemen. So I have established the protocol. Yes, I've established the protocol. So I can go ahead and give my opening remark. So the opening remark given by the director, School of Public Health, at the day 12 of the scientific conference of the School of Public Health. Of course, let me quickly adopt the protocol I just established. So it is with great honor that I welcome you all to day 12 of the first annual scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. The day is dedicated to occupational health. The University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health was established in January 2019 by the Senate of the university as a semi-autonomous academic center to provide postgraduate education in public health and the allied health sciences. The autonomy of the university, the autonomy of the school gives it the powers to set and collect school fees and then use the collected fees to run the academic programs, but subject to the rules and regulations of the university. This gives the school the wherewithal to recruit and pay ad hoc lecturers from within and outside the university and from the industry to lecture in this academic program. So the school is therefore able to recruit the rich talents in NGOs, private and public organizations in Nigeria, ensuring that it has world-class faculty with diverse background, experience, and training. The School of Public Health has been so successful that, in fact, it is even finding it difficult to get external examiners because external examiners are actually expected not to have any formal contact with those they're examining. But because of the model we use in the School of Public Health, we are free. The university gave us the freedom to recruit the best, and that is what we have been able to do. So our school started with 4 academic programs. Now it has so many. It has 3 PGD programs, 10 master's program, a doctor of public health program, which is a professional doctorate. Perhaps this is the first of its kind in Nigeria, a professional doctorate that makes, that is the top notch. The top notch. It may be the first in Nigeria. Okay, so we have it in this our school. And then we have the PhD programs in all the subspecialties of public health, including a PhD program in occupational health. Academic programs in the School of Public Health are deliberately designed to be both academic and professional to sharpen the research skills of students and prepare them for a career in the academics while emphasizing the practical skills that are needed for professional work. The results of these have been very remarkable as the graduates of our various programs, irrespective of their first degrees, often secure employment in the health sector few months after graduation and are known to perform much, much better than others. The success of our graduates in the labor market and their achievements in their jobs can be attributed to our competency-based curriculum, expertly delivered by our lecturers who are drawn from the academia, industry, and government. What has been called the triple helix model: the industry, the government, and the academia contributing to train students. Okay, so we not only teach the principles as a standard in most postgraduate programs in Nigeria, but we also lay emphasis on the practice to ensure that the graduates of our academic programs industry ready. Practice is embedded in every lecture given to students of the School of Public Health. The practical implications of principles taught are stressed and reinforced with case studies. We have developed a software for our masters in occupational medicine program to help the teaching and practical demonstration of walk-through survey of the workplace, a key professional competence of an occupational physician in the determination, in the identification of workplace hazards. The software, however, is currently in its beta form, and when perfected, will be used to train students. Our students also, apart from these practical-oriented lectures we give, our students also have access to short courses, and these short courses are competency-based. These short courses teach certain competencies that are needed for successful professional practice. Because in the School of Public Health, we are not just interested in awarding the certificates. We actually pay a lot of attention in imparting professional skills so that our graduates can work effectively in any employment apart from in the academics. So at present, most of our short courses are now developed within, but we want to open it up. And therefore we are inviting professional groups, professional associations, and even private consultancies to partner with us in developing short courses. The good thing is that we have the students, and then we have the students. And so if we partner to develop these short courses, please be assured that they will be heavily subscribed. So let me specifically call on the Society of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, the Occupational Health Caucus of Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, and private consultancies to partner with us in creating more of these short courses. Because the typical students of the School of Public Health do not just graduate with their certificates, but also graduate with several competency certificates of competency or proficiency certificates of these short courses. I'm sure that significantly improves their employability. In fact, I'm sure that it is probably one of the reasons why the graduates of our programs are employed a few months after graduation. The School of Public Health currently runs only a Master of Science program in occupational medicine that is open to only medical doctors, and a PhD in occupational health that is open to all holders of MPH and related field of study. the School of Public Health couldn't start a generic occupational health program because of a similar program at the Center for Occupational Health, Safety and Environment in the Institute of Petroleum Studies. And we couldn't run a program in occupational health nursing because we couldn't get the required support from our university's Department of Nursing. But things are changing. And we will in the near future collaborate with the department and this center to run occupational health programs that will be open to all. So for the one we have, the Masters in Occupational Medicine, we have so far graduated 4 sets of students, numbering close to 100. And when we started the program, the equivalent program in the UK costs more than £20,000. So that is the reason why we have to work on this program, the occupational medicine program, collaborate with all the professional associations to make it better because it's cheaper. It is much cheaper than going abroad to get a qualification in occupational medicine. And of course, our program is completely Nigerialized. We teach the laws, the occupational health laws we teach are Nigerian laws and not foreign laws. So that is the thing. Okay, and so we believe that this our occupational medicine program serves the need of Nigerians and even those in similar those in sub-Saharan African countries. Universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria is the theme of today. That is the day 12 of this scientific conference, the day dedicated to occupational health. This day gives us the opportunity to deliberate on ways of improving occupational health service to all occupational groups in Nigeria, irrespective of their income or place of residence. At the time of Nigerians, at the time of the amalgamation of Southern and Northern protectorates of the British Empire in 1914 to form Nigeria, and up to the time of Nigerians' independence in 1960, occupational activities in Nigeria were classified as factory and non-factory occupations. We separate occupational health services. Factories were defined as large buildings where people use machines to manufacture goods, but also include the mining industry, post services, and the railway that employ a large number of workers. Occupational health services provided for workers employed in the so-called factories were monitored by the Ministry of Labor and Productivity through factory inspectors who were not often medically qualified because at least there is no report of the employment of a medical inspector of factories, the position once held by the legendary Sir Thomas Legge in Britain. So the occupational activities classified as non-factory include subsistence of agriculture, such as fishing and farming, food processing, handicraft, and small-scale manufacturing, especially in the informal sector. The provision of occupational health services to these workers, as the workers employed in these non-factory occupations, were under the purview of the medical officers of health who worked who work with sanitary inspectors with job descriptions, which job description includes the safety of the occupational environment in these non-factories. The adoption of the primary healthcare strategy led to the creation of a new cadre of health workers in Nigeria, the community health workers. And the primary healthcare strategy demands that essential healthcare be brought to where people live and work, invariably making the provision of occupational health services a part of the job description of community health workers in Nigeria. Unfortunately, this aspect of their job descriptions of their job description was abandoned, not only because preference was given to the control of infectious diseases, but also because the community health workers decided to remain in health centers instead of going to where people work, acting more like village medical doctors. Occupational health service has, however, grown in scope and sophistication since the colonial days, with the emergence of several industries working with chemicals, physical and biological agents with known and unknown health effects. This resulted in the creation in several countries of an agency tasked not only with the responsibility of carrying out research studies on all the types of occupational hazards, but also to ensure the health and safety of workers involved in occupational activities. This agency is called the Occupational Safety and Health Administration in the United States, and Health and Safety Executive in Britain. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have such agency. And this seriously hampers the practice of occupational health and safety in Nigeria. This is a task for the labor unions, the academia, as well as professional associations like Society of Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria. Also important in ensuring universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria is the resuscitation and reinvigoration of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund to help operationalize the Employee Compensation Act and the labor law, especially as it relates to payment during maternity leave. I am sure that the experts lined up for today's event will provide further insights on how to achieve the goal of universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria. The chairman of the day, the keynote speaker, and the panel discussants were chosen because of their unique qualifications and experience. The chairman of the day, Chief Dr. Roland Obed White, is a medical doctor and a doctorate degree holder in occupational safety and health from our University Center for Occupational Health, Safety and Environment. He's a former director of disease control, Rivers State Primary Care Healthcare Board. He is so good and very attentive to details that even the great Professor Nimi Briggs once remarks about him, "Doctor, God bless you and also bless your double heart." This used to be a common statement when we were in medical school to show how good Dr. Roland White was, even as a house officer when that happened. The keynote speaker, Professor Steve Abba, Professor of Community Medicine and Occupational Health, and former acting Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otugbo. is one of the most influential occupational and environmental health academic and professional in Nigeria. He pioneered the integration of occupational safety and health standards in environmental impact assessment studies, thereby ensuring regulatory compliance, workplace risk mitigation, and sustainable project outcomes. With this, he contributed significantly to the reduction of the number of accidents, mobility, and mortalities recorded in the construction and even the operational phases of these developmental projects. And I'm sure that it's one of those reasons, is one of the reasons why even those companies began to dream of Goal Zero in their operations. So it was the fact that this is partly because of what Professor Abba did by incorporating these occupational safety standards in EIA reports. The panel discussants are also very, 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 very experienced and distinguished. Dr. Onyemba she's with us. So good that I have unofficially given her the title of the SPH Professor of Public Health. Very good, very good, very good in occupational medicine and other aspects of public health. Then the next Dr. Folonshaw Lamina is an occupational health and public health consultant with over 2 decades of diverse work experience across public and private sectors. In her current role, she leads a multidisciplinary team creatively promoting, protecting, and optimizing the health and well-being of the workforce in an international oil company. She is an alumnus of University of Ibadan, University of Manchester, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She's also a fellow of the West African College of Physicians in Community Health. Dr. Okechukwu Ibiawuchi, the medical director of the Palmer's Hospital Limited. It's one of this hospital is one of the foremost providers of occupational health services in Port Harcourt. Dr. Okeiwawuchi earned his medical degree from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka in 1983, and in 2022 received an Icon Award from the Alumni Association for his contributions to medicine and humanity. He is a fellow of the West African College of Physicians in family medicine, and also holds a master's degree in healthcare management. Dr. Ibiso Bruce will also join as a panelist, a fellow of the West African College of Physicians, and he also has a master's degree in occupational health and safety. So I have no doubt that they will do justice to the choosing team of today. And I want you to sit back and listen to these experts. Thank you very much and welcome. Yes, so it was a long one. So, but haven't done with it, we can now go ahead with other aspects of the program, and that will be the chairman's opening remark. Chairman, Dr. White, Dr. Ben White. Hello, sir. Can you identify? Can you? Okay, you have unmuted him. Hello, sir. Chairman, sir. Hello? Is he there? Dr. Obed White, you can unmute yourself and then okay, he has unmuted. Dr. White, Dr. Obed White, you can go ahead with your opening remark. Alpha. Alpha. Are you? Sorry? Hello, sir. Dr. White, you can go on since you have unmuted. One of the honorable commission. Yeah. Is he on call? Eh? Okay. Dr. White? Okay. I'm sure that we'll sort that out. So let me the Goodwill messages, I think we can have them. Professor Steve Abba, you know, you're wearing a double cap today as the chairman of the Occupational Health Caucus.
Yes, I'm actually wearing 3 caps.
Okay, 3. Yeah. So you can, if you can unmute and just give us the Goodwill message of the caucus, and then let me also use the opportunity to invite the president of the Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria. I don't know who is giving the goodwill message on their behalf. I've not been able to select Dr. Orubibi. If you're around, if you're on call, you can also indicate so that I will give you the opportunity to say something. Is select Orubibi. Okay. Professor Abba, you can go ahead and give your opening remark. Sorry, goodwill message.
Thank you very much. I will give the goodwill message on behalf of the Society for Public Health Professionals of Nigeria, of which I have just been elected president, and as well as the chairman of the Environmental and Occupational Health Caucus of our Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria. I'll do the 2 together to save time. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the fantastic role that the organizers of this conference have done over the last, I think it's 2 weeks now. This is a unique way to showcase public health. And what you have done is remarkable because it shows that public health in Nigeria is alive. It also demonstrates clearly that there is a lot of work to be done. And given the array of professionals that you have been able to assemble, we have no doubt that this is the beginning of good things to come. As you know, the data as far as public health, occupational medicine, and even environmental medicine is concerned in Nigeria leaves a lot to be desired. However, as a society, the public health professionals of Nigeria will support the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, which is fast becoming one of the best managed institutions in Nigeria. We will support you. We will work with you to continue to promote the good works you're doing. As an environmental and occupational health caucus of physicians, the APH-PN, we are also very proud of the works that you do, and like to identify very well with the School of Public Health. We will continue to work with you, and I am happy that the organizers are members of this caucus. I want to say that I am very proud to be associated with Professor Best, with whom I have managed the Occupational Caucus back to back. So, Professor Best, I want to say kudos, continue the good work. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. So, Steve Abba, in fact, when I was going through your CV, I made that connection between what you did with the EIA reports and those zero mortality goals. Yes, because you know, when I was growing up, they say when they start this, when they put their rig, that they usually sacrifice one woman being every month. but with what you, I can see why Go Zero is now very, very common in such projects. Thank you very much, Professor Steve Abba. I don't know if the chairman is. Hello. Okay. So the chairman is having some network challenges. I'm sure that he will join us. Sorry. Professor Dr. Obed White. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, that's fine. Good morning.
Good day.
Good morning, sir. Good day,
Prof,
sir.
good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good to hear
Good
you.
morning, Prof.
Good to see you. Can you give us your opening remark?
Very well, very well. Thank you very much. First, before I make my remarks, my Prof, as a chairman of today's meeting, let me, as a matter of protocol, salute the chief host, my friend and brother, Chief Professor Sir Unare Abraham Georgeville, the director himself, Professor Best, and other teaching and non-teaching staff of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. Of course, the keynote speaker of today's meeting, Professor Steve Abba, is a well-known, a renowned professor of community medicine and occupational health. Of course, a special guest of honor, my brother Commissioner for Health, Dr. John from Akwa Ibom State. Our powerful and well-selected panel discussants, Dr. Mba, Dr. Lamina, and of course, one of my mentors, Dr. Eba Abushi, not forgetting the students of School of Public Health, our virtual audience, ladies and gentlemen. For me, I feel very highly delighted to be called upon to share today's meeting, being the first annual scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. The theme for today's meeting and discussion is said to be universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria. Of course, we all know that access to health is a fundamental human right of all, as entrenched in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. And so getting full quality of health services, no matter the range, where it is gotten, how it is gotten, is needed for all without any form of financial hardship. And of course, this covers not only the curative care, but preventive, rehabilitative, and palliative care. Again, you are all aware of the SDG goals, specifically number 3, talks about the health and well-being for all, which aims to ensure healthy and promote well-being for all ages. Again, the World Health Organization and International Labour Organization have always promoted universal access to health, aimed at covering workers both in the formal and informal sectors to prevent work-related diseases and injuries. And so the theme for today's lecture, access to occupational health services in Nigeria, is apt. And to a large extent, it implies that all workers, be it senior, junior, casual, or labor, in any organization, have access to at least basic or essential occupational health services. And what are these services? We're talking about prevention of occupational hazards and risk, health surveillance and training of workers. Again, employers have the obligation to advise workers on work safety, workplace safety, for providing workplace guidebooks, sometimes referred to as standard operating procedures. Also, it involves health surveillance and training of workers. Now, achieving universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria, to my mind, requires a concerted effort to expand the health insurance coverage of all Nigerians. And you know very well that a lot of our associations, including the Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria, need to step up their game, because in Nigeria, if you don't make noise, nobody will recognize you. And so the onus lies on the various associations to do so much advocacy on the part of government. I think time is well spent, but before I round up, let me once again congratulate the director and his team for putting up this very important scientific conference, and also to commend my mentor, Professor Kingsley Douglas, who happened to supervise my doctorate degree program at the Center for Occupational Health, Safety, and Environment. I must believe strongly that the keynote speaker, our professor, Steve Haber, will do so much justice to this very important topic. Reason being that he has a wealth of experience, knowledge, both in the academics and in the industry. And so I believe strongly that today's meeting will be well discussed, and participants, especially our virtual participants, audience, will go home with a lot. The opportunities abound in the area of occupational health. I'm so happy that medical doctors and the likes are beginning to embrace occupational health. In fact, according to WHO, it is expected that organizations that employ more than 20 persons should have an occupational health attendant. And when it is far above, should have an occupational practitioner who should attend to the occupational needs. It is on that note, I wish director, discussants, and other participants a fruitful day. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much, Chairman, for that that speech. I think we can now go ahead and take the citation of the keynote speaker, and after that, he will give his keynote lecture. A keynote citation, please, of Professor Steve Haber.
Professor Stephen Ogbekpa Aba won a unanimous vote to give the keynote address on day 12 of the first annual scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health. He won the vote for his academic and professional qualifications, professional experience, and most especially for being one of the most influential persons in the environmental and occupational health practice in Nigeria. Professor Aba is a 1992 graduate of the University of Jos Medical School and a fellow of the West African College of Physicians in Community Health. He also holds certifications in occupational health audits from Bureau Veritas Leadership in Public Sector from UNITA and Global Health Project Management from the University of Washington. He became certified as an Environmental Impact Assessment Practitioner by the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment UK and went on to serve as Principal Environmental and Public Health Consultant at Amber Projects International Limited. In 2004, he was appointed a lecturer into the Department of Community Medicine of the Medical School of Ambrose Ali University, Egboma, where he rose through the ranks to become Professor of Community Medicine and Environmental Occupational Health in 2012. In 2020, he transferred his services to the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otugbo, as Professor of Community Medicine and Deputy Provost of the College of Medicine. He was later elected Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics in 2021 and briefly served as the Acting Vice Chancellor of the University in 2024. Professor Abba has been deeply involved in infection prevention and control. He led multidisciplinary IPC teams during COVID-19 and Lassa fever outbreaks, significantly reducing occupational acquired infections among frontline healthcare workers. He was head of the Infection Prevention and Control Units at the Iroa Specialist Teaching Hospital during the world's largest Lassa fever outbreak in 2018 and served as NCDC team lead for the COVID-19 rapid response in Benue State. He is a fellow, trainer, and examiner of the West African College of Physicians and currently serves on the Occupational and Environmental Medicine Subspecialty Curriculum Committee, as well as the lead for its 2024 to 2028 strategic plan. Professor Abba is also a versatile researcher with more than 70 peer-reviewed articles and technical reports supported by major grants such as the 250 million naira TED Fund Mega Grant on Lassa fever, the 50,000 euro Robert Koch Institute grant, and IBR grant on nutrition and growth patterns of children in Benue South. He has also held many academic and professional leadership roles, including Editor-in-Chief of the Annals of Rural and Suburban Medicine, Chairman of the Environmental Caucus of the APHPN, Member of the Environmental Health Working Group of the World Federation of Health, and Chairman of the Faculty of Community Health, Nigeria Chapter of the West African College of Physicians. Distinguished guests, lecturers, students, ladies and gentlemen, behold Professor Stephen Ogbepa Abba, Fellow of the West African College of Physicians, Certified Environmental Impact Assessment Practitioner, Professor of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, former Acting Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Health Sciences, Otugbo, and keynote speaker on Day 12 of the first annual scientific conference of the University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health.
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Steve Abba, you can go ahead and give your lecture. Is it the one sharing? Hello, Professor Abba, you are muted.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
See my
Yes, yeah.
our chance.
Sorry. Okay, the network, but I'm sure it will improve.
Okay,
Hello, sir.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Okay. I think the network is fluctuating. So
Yes.
in addition to the protocol that has been very well established, I must acknowledge my very good friends, particularly the director of the School of Public Health, Professor Best Odinoha. I also want to specifically acknowledge Professor DST Ogaji, the center leader for Puto, and my good friend, Professor Douglas. These are people that I've known for over 20 years, and I'm very, very happy to be associated with them. I want to use the opportunity to acknowledge the excellent works that they have done and have projected the University of Port Harcourt to great limelight. Please keep up the good work, and thank you. I will now start my presentation, which is titled Universal Access to Occupational Health Services in Nigeria. My presentation outline is as shown. We'll have some brief introduction, give some conceptual foundation to the topic. Then we'll look at the occupational health landscape in Nigeria and make a case for universal access. We'll then discuss the role of translational research in achieving universal access and try to carve out a strategic pathway for Nigeria and a call for action. I'd like us to begin by casting our minds to the very hardworking men and women, the farmer in Benue, the welder in Nnewi, the market seller in Imo, and every part of Nigeria. The woman who roast bole by the street corner, the one who roasts corn by the street corner, our hardworking health workers, and of course, this is a digital age, and people who do programming and all manner of computer-based works. These are men and women sweating every day, using their ingenuity and hard work to push the economy. And these millions of Nigerians, as they build our nation, the issue is they are beginning to run out of fuel in terms of health. India, the economic engine for our country. But the question is, how well are we doing as a nation to protect these valuable assets? How much are we doing to maintain their health? How much are we doing to ensure that wherever they are, irrespective of the type of work they are doing, irrespective of which part of the country they are in, that they are working with dignity, that they are working in an environment, a work environment where their health is safe and where they can work with sustainability. And I think this is the basis for today's discussion. As we look at the statistics, we are told that globally, over 2.78 million work-related deaths occur annually. Here in Nigeria, we have data issues, but we know that the problem could be worse off. We could be worse off in terms of data, even though we don't have enough data. We are aware of the severe underreporting. And we're also aware, I'm sure each and every one of you will remember at least one worker somewhere in this country who has suffered, perhaps catastrophically, either economically or in terms of his health, as a result of the work that he does, especially when you consider that our health system relies mainly on out-of-pocket payments. And so many of them suffer catastrophic expenditure, and those who are unlucky may even lose their lives in the course of their work. And so the economic impact is huge, and the cost to healthcare is huge when these men and women, hardworking men and women, lose their lives, or when they lose their ability to earn income prematurely as a result of work-related injury or work or mortality. I was looking at a publication done by one of our teachers, Professor Chris Obiano, in 2014. And he wrote in that article, the situation of the Nigerian workplace exposes the worker to a variety of health hazards and injuries. Poor government support, illiterate workforce, and absence or poorly implemented legislations were identified as contributory factors. And I could not help but ask myself, have these factors changed? Are we still in 2014? This is a question I want all of us to think about. Now, what is occupational health? And I want to start straight away by emphasizing that occupational health is not just first aid box, it's not just a corner in an industrial setting where people who have injuries are given first aid treatment or where they were providing treatment. No, occupational health is far more than that. It is the science and practice of safeguarding the worker, who are the very engine of our economy, by preventing, by diagnosing, and by managing the health risks that arise from their work conditions. It is not just absence of injury or disease, but it is the promotion of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of these workers, irrespective of the sector in which they are working in, irrespective of where they work, whether they are floor attendants or whether they are managers, doesn't really matter, whether they work in a workplace. The essence is that wherever they work, they must be able to have dignified work environment, a work environment where their health is promoted and where they can work sustainably. And so occupational health is about hazard identification and controlling these hazards in the work environment, promoting the health of the workers, ensuring that we maintain health surveillance and the well-being of workers, that each is fit, each is healthy, and each is motivated to do their work. Let's take a quick look at the historical background of occupational services in Nigeria. In the colonial era, before the 1960s, the focus was on protecting European colonial officers and ensuring that productivity continues in the extractive industries, particularly in the mines, in the railway sector, in the textile industries, and so on. And so the first factories ordinance was enacted essentially to protect these factory workers. Post-independence, between 1960 and in the 1990s, these laws were expanded, notably the Factory Act of 1958, which was basically a Nigerian law post-independence and was based on what the British handed over to us. This law also focused mainly on the formal industrial sector because it was an industrial age. In the modern era, beginning the 2000s to present, there has been a growing recognition of the need to broaden these occupational health issues, particularly to safeguard other people who are not necessarily working in the industries. And that led to a number of networks and policies and laws, particularly in 2010 and in 2020, where we had, many of you will remember the Workmen Compensation Act, which was later repealed and replaced, and then the National Policy on health. So we'll look at all this, but basically, the issue is that our occupational health system has roots in colonial labor and not in the holistic worker welfare. We'll see this from some of the existing legal and administrative frameworks for occupational health services. The Factories Act, CAP F1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, which is the oldest legislation. It regulates safety, the health of workers, and the welfare in factories. The emphasis again is on factories and is critically limited in scope and modern relevance. Actually, in a very polite way, it is outdated. The Employees Compensation Act of 2010 marked a significant shift from emphasis on the Factories Act, and it established, led the establishment of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, which provides compensation for work-related injuries, diseases, and disabilities. Again, the focus is on compensation. The focus here is on after effect, and many times too little, too late. The National Policy on Occupational Safety and Health, which was first discussed in 2016. I had the privilege of being in the room when the International Labour Organization began to discuss this issue. And this law is an expansion of the previous laws, and it's a comprehensive blueprint. It, for the first time, acknowledged all sectors of the economy, and the aim was to promote a culture of safety in all working environments. A major shift, again, like Professor Best said earlier, it still hasn't materialized in comprehensive occupational health service for every Nigerian. So essentially, we have a framework which has moved from where we were in the colonial days, which now has a mix of both the old and the new. But it leaves us with gaps. And we hope that these gaps, these aspirations will be filled by people like you and I, by filling in that gap, which is the translational aspect of our work that will relate, that will influence policies, and that will help government to change some of these laws to make it more encompassing. So I'll quickly look at some of the other existing legal frameworks. We've talked about the Factories Act. There is also the Nuclear Safety and Radiation Protection Act, the Nigerian Radiation Safety and Nuclear Medicine Regulations. These regulations came about when the Nigerian Nuclear Agency was set up, and they are there to protect workers from radiation and so on. Then, of course, we already mentioned the Police Compensation Act, the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act. Lagos State is singled out here because in 2011, they came out with the Lagos State Safety Commission. Again, this law was enacted to establish that commission, and we hope that they are fulfilling their aspirations. Then, in terms of conventions, the International Labour Organization and other international conventions, Nigeria is a signatory to several of them, particularly the Convention 155, Occupational Safety and Health, which was in 1981 and was ratified in 1994. So you see that we are not in short numbers as far as laws are concerned. The issue is whether these laws translate into the well-being for the worker. Now, let's look at the landscape, the current landscape. We cannot overemphasize the fact that the Nigerian economy, our economy, is powered by its workforce. And that means that if the workforce is sick, the economy is sick. And so everything, all hands must be on deck to ensure that the workforce is healthy so that we can have a healthy economy. And when we understand the state of the occupational health in Nigeria, it becomes a critical ingredient for us to be able to understand the issues of productivity, the issues of public health, and the issues of sustainable development. Many of the people, most of us spend a major part of our time in our workplace. And so it goes to say that when we talk about health, that health definition must extend comprehensively to where we work. And so for us, the achievement is that, yes, now we have an occupational health service that covers the formal sector and the industries. However, the informal sector appear to be largely excluded. And even for the formal sector, we need to look at the issue of enforcement. We need to look at the issue of specialists, the occupational health services, and see how these people have provided services and have shifted the indicator from where we have been to where we want to be. The Nigerian paradox: this is a country that is very wealthy in oil, wealthy in mineral resources, wealthy in agriculture. Yet, the workforce in agriculture, even in this day and age, suffer from pesticide poisoning, musculoskeletal disorders, and a whole range of other occupationally related, occupationally acquired conditions for which we cannot really easily pinpoint a service dedicated to these people. When we look at the oil and gas, yes, because of the international nature of that service, they have moved forward reasonably. But again, we still have artisans, we still have the informal sector servicing this oil sector, for which we must begin to think critically about their health. Then the manufacturing sector, where noise, dust, economic issues, and social protection remain gaps that must be filled. In our own sector, the health sector, you must agree with me that the occupational health service in the health sector leaves much to be desired. If you go around our hospitals, go around our health service provider agencies, you will see that occupational health service has not really taken root to the extent that we would like. And so, in summary, we can say that the key sectors of the economy, the sectors that are driving our economy, driving our productivity, are having a state of health service that leaves much to be desired. And that is unsustainable. That is one of the things that we must look at. For us to attain universal occupational health, we must individually and collectively work to ensure that these sectors are fully covered, to ensure that each person, irrespective of where he or she is, irrespective of where he provides that service, is guaranteed a safe working environment. And we are sure that he will not suffer additional burden because of the nature of work, because occupational services have been provided and have taken into consideration that nature of work. Now, let's take a quick look at the formal and informal sector. From the data that is available to us, the formal sector is about 20%, while the informal sector is about 80%. And if you look at the extent of coverage in terms of occupational health services, you will see that the formal sector, which accounts for about 20% of workmen and women, has some coverage, particularly in terms of the NSITF and other compensation mechanisms. There is basic compliance with the law, and many of them have in-house occupational health services, particularly the multinationals. When you look at the Shells, the Chevrons, the Dangotes, and so on, these multinationals and large national companies tend to have some form of in-house occupational health service. But then let's look at the informal sector, which has the vast majority of workers. We have effectively zero coverage. Their legal protection, insurance cover, and access to occupational health service is almost non-existent. And we look at farmers. Do farmers have any form of cover? Your answer is good as mine. So we can say that the system is designed for the few while neglecting the many. We also know that the many are the ones that are the engine rooms of the economy. And so you may think aloud like me. No wonder the economy is suffering, because for as long as we do not take adequate care of the health of the majority of those who are the engine rooms of our economy, then the economy will also be sick. Now, what is the greatest challenge? The greatest challenge is that, as I have tried to explain, these men and women sweating day and night, using their ingenuity, using their craftsmanship, and pushing the economy to the extent that they can, and who form the majority, are neglected with no access. So any strategy that we put in place for universal access that ignores this informal sector is destined to fail. And so the challenge for you and I is that we must begin to think outside the box. We must begin to think how we can extend occupational health service to the woman who sells tomato in the market, to the woman who sells egusi in the market, to the people we call shoemakers. What kind of service can we offer them? How can we guarantee them that wherever they work, they are entitled to a work environment that gives them dignity and that protects and provides safety for them? Now, let's look at this formal sector, which tends to have some level of occupational health services. Unfortunately, we have a lot of systemic gaps. And these gaps, you can think about it this way. Yes, the road has been tarred, but it's filled with potholes. And these under the OH laws are not perfected for them. Now, there is also inadequate human resources to monitor and ensure that these health services are provided. There is inadequate infrastructure Even in the factories, even in if you go to many of these big factories and companies, you'll discover that there are still gaps. How many times has enforcement units gone there to see that they keep within the minimum requirements of the law? Even where there are incidents in these places, how often do they report them? How do we know whether the data we are getting from them represents what is happening? So there's a lot of gap. And this leads to fragmented service delivery. Whereas the service is there, it is fragmented in delivery. And that is what we call the siloed approach. Occupational health services are delivered in fragments. And a good example is the way the administrative component of occupational health service in Nigeria is managed. NSITF, which is mainly for compensation, the Federal Ministry of Health focuses on clinical health care and preventive care. Ministry of Labor is where we have the occupational OSH located, and they are in charge of inspection. And so there is poor coordination between these entities. And like someone observed, unlike in the US, where you could have all this under one umbrella, here we have them in different ministries and fragmented form of service. So that brings inequity to the system, because the system is designed for urban formal settings. The system is not designed to care for my uncle in the village who goes to the farm at 5 a.m. and comes back home by 11, 12 every day. It does not take care of my auntie who has to take a goosey to the market, stays in the sun and comes back. There is no cover for them. And so the system is skewed in favor of the formal sector. There is no primary care link, which would have been the bridge, perhaps, to reduce this gap, because the primary health care is the nearest unit of care to everybody. And so, because OH is not integrated into our primary health care, we discover that the siloed approach is further exaggerated. The inequity is further exaggerated. And the healthcare system is designed to miss this crucial avenue for reaching the informal sector, which is the primary health care. And so the system is disorganized and fails to design to reach those who need it most. The 80% of those in the informal sector who need it most are more likely to access it if it is integrated into the primary healthcare system. I've tried to put a table here just to drive home the point that I've tried to make. If you look at the formal sector and the informal sector, for the informal sector, we talk about some cover under the law. We talk about protection by the Factories Act, access to occupational health clinics, formal employees with some rights, and social safety nets. But if you look at the informal sector, it is no for all these criteria. So the occupational health landscape, we can summarize it as being one that is characterized by outdated factory laws, a limited compensation scheme, and unimplemented policy, the National Occupational Safety and Health Policy, which was launched in 1994, and the massive coverage gap between the formal and the informal. And many of those in the informal excluded from the service. And then the critical weakness, the systemic weaknesses, which characterize many of the services in terms of enforcement, in terms of capacity of the officers to do the enforcement, and the fragmentation of the service across several ministries, not to talk about the corruption in the system. So this inequality, to my mind, is the biggest single failure of the current occupational health landscape. The next step is to explore all the strategies that are available to us to move from identifying the problem to solving this problem. And that bridge is translational research. provision of innovative models that can allow us to begin to approach a universal access situation. So the key question is, how do we bridge this gap? The gap between policy and practice for the millions of unprotected Nigerian workers. So begin with problem identification. We begin to translate evidence that we generate into action, and then gradually we begin to approach universal access to occupational health service. So let's begin to make a case for universal access. What is the rationale? Why do we need to have universal access to occupational health for everybody? The data that we have before us says that for every dollar that is invested in occupational health service, $4 to $6 is saved in return. That is the International Labour Organization data. And because we do not have concrete data, perhaps it is more here. Maybe it is up to $10 in savings here. We know that in terms of rationale, if we are to provide occupational health service to the majority of the people, we'll prevent injuries, we'll prevent premature deaths, we'll increase productivity, we'll reduce mental health issues. And then again, during the COVID outbreak, issues of mental health for health workers was at the fore because people are becoming depressed, people were jumping into the river, and so on and so forth. From stress, no occupational health service for them. Economic rationale we already discussed. We know that in terms of equity, it's self-explanatory to say that if we reduce injuries, if we prevent chronic diseases, if we prevent unsafe conditions through occupational health services, then the larger population will be healthy. And why universal health service? Yes, because it aligns with the SDGs. SDG 3, which is the health SDG, SDG 8, which talks about decent work, and SDG 10, which talks about inequality. So for us, we counted in the Committee of Nations who are working actively to achieve the SDGs. We must the majority of the people are in occupations. And so if we're able to achieve this, then gradually we inadvertently also approach achieving these goals. So translational research as a missing link. Moving from evidence to action. And translational research, in a nutshell, is that dynamic process of turning scientific discoveries into practical applications that improve health. So it is about moving from the work that you do on your bench, on your computer, to the bedside of the patient and to the community as a whole. So translational research will help us to bridge that gap between the data that we are generating and the impact that it will have on the population. So it helps to translate policy into practice and practice into technology and technology into service to the community. So the key question is, how do we bridge the gap between policy and practice for the millions of unprotected Nigerian workers? So as it is now, we have the data. Papers are written every day identifying the problems. Every day we do a KIP. We look at hazards, we identify the hazards, we identify the risks that we pose to workers. Yet the problem persists. And why is this so? It is so because there is a gap between what we know and what we do. And that critical process that needs to move us from what we know to what we should do is the translational research, and this is missing. So why does it matter? It matters because we cannot continue to import solutions to our problem. We must at this point in our development, begin to think inwards, begin to think outside the box, as they say, to look at solutions that are specific to the problems that we have identified. We need to begin to think about research that would inform policy. And that is where our leaders, our administrators, and ourselves come in to work together to provide that link. And once we do that, it becomes cost effective because it now becomes a solution that is developed locally. It will be low cost and it will have a high impact. So this is where we must go. So I'll discuss translational research in 4 quadrants, T1 to T4. T1 is basic research, where we are generating knowledge. And it could be clinical knowledge. It could be knowledge in the laboratory. For instance, we could be generating knowledge on how much damage is done to the lungs from dust, how much dust we have in the air, what type of dust we have. These are basic knowledge. And because of that, at the T2 level, we can develop guidelines to say, okay, these queries in, say, Edo State, this is the total amount of dust that you can generate in the air is this much. You must control it up to that level. We must begin to, that can generate recommended exposure limits for this kind of hazards. But the critical issue here is translating to T3 and T3 to 4. That is when these findings find their way into policy and practice, where we can implement and enforce in the workplace. And then, of course, when we translate this to become of use to the population, where the knowledge we have generated can reduce the amount of people coming down with silicosis 20, 30 years down the line, when that knowledge can reduce the number of people with TB being exaggerated, asthma being exaggerated, and so on and so forth. So we must move from basic research to research that will influence and generate guidelines, to research that will impact policy and practice, and that will begin to impact the population as a whole. So I like to use a metaphor that evidence without translation is like a seed without soil. I'm told people grow some seeds now without soil, but what I know from our own local knowledge is that for you to grow any seed, it needs soil. So permit me to say that the research paper is the seed. It contains the potential for life and growth. Whereas the translation, which is the soil, the water, the sunlight, are the active processes of nurturing that seed to begin to bear fruits, 20%, 40%, 80%, 100%, and so on. So without this translation, without these additional ingredients of soil, water, and sunlight, the most brilliant seed will never feed anybody, not become fruits for you and I. So if we look at our research in that manner, we can say that the basic research that we do will at best provide a seed, but we need to go beyond that. At this point, I'd like to give you a case study from our practice at IROA. The problem here is that during the outbreak, we had a donation of a large chunk of PPEs. And these PPEs, I believe, were brought in from Europe. And we discovered that they were extremely uncomfortable because of the hot, humid weather climate of Nigeria. These were produced for countries where it is cold, and so they needed to make it of materials that will conserve heat, whereas we needed materials that will allow for heat to escape. So it was like wearing a tarpaulin inside the sauna. People were sweating, and they were very uncomfortable. And the consequence was that because health workers suffered from heat stress and dehydration, it led to poor compliance and increased the risk of self-contamination. Now, what did the team do? The Lassa Fever team did not just complain. They experimented. In collaboration with the management of the hospital, they began to look at the possibility of using local materials that will serve the same purpose. And they tested various fabrics based on the criteria of will it provide adequate protection, particularly as an effective viral barrier? Will it be comfortable enough that people can breathe in and work under this tropical climate? And will it be cost effective? This in itself is implementation research. And I'm happy to tell you that at the end of the day, they went ahead to establish an in-house tailoring unit to manufacture the new improved PPE. And the impact was transformational. It increased compliance because health workers were now more willing to wear comfortable functional PPEs. It reduced infection, the direct result of better compliance. And of course, it brought about local empowerment. So this is the kind of translational research that we're talking about, where basic research, basic experiment leads to something that impacts the population and also impacts the local economy. Let's look at on the global stage, but let's restrict ourselves to Africa. In Ghana, they also suffered the same kind of problem that we're suffering here. But instead of building parallel expensive health systems, health structures, they decided that they would incorporate occupational health clinics, occupational health service into existing clinics, particularly at the primary healthcare level. And so what they did was that they began to train community health officers, nurses, CHUs, and so on, to do 3 simple things. 1, for each patient, ask, what kind of work do you do? Could you, and if they tell you where they work, let's say, for instance, they are coughing, or they come down with cough, you could ask them, or whatever symptom they come with. Ask them if they think that symptom relates to the kind of work they do. If they come with cough, ask them if it relates with the dust they have inhaled at their workshop. For instance, does it get better when you are not in the workplace? Could your back pain be because of the way you lift? A market woman, a market man comes to you with backache. Could this backache relate to the goods that you lift? What kind of goods do you lift in the market? How do you sit in the market? Then you provide basic advice. Offer simple, actionable guidance on how they sit, how they do their work, what kind of protective gear to wear, how to protect themselves from the sun, how to protect themselves from dust, and how to control whatever hazard they have mentioned to you that is in their workplace. And so by doing this, they began to provide solution. So that strengthened their policy, and then the necessary frameworks were put in place. So for us in Nigeria, we don't need to copy per se, but we can adapt. We can adapt what works. In South Africa, a lot of problems were to do with the mines. You know, gold mining is a major occupation of the people in South Africa. And initially, they were focused on compensation-based mechanisms. But over time, they have learned that it is better to focus on prevention. And they came up with codes based on simple, basic studies. They now, that's led to policy change. And now they have codes of practice, which is working. And the number of mine incidents is reducing. Morbidity is reducing. Mortality is reducing from occasionally acquired issues. So this is the way to go for us in Nigeria. And so our strategic pathway will be to strengthen the policies and the regulatory frameworks that protect workers wherever they are, whatever type of work they do. We must continue to build capacity of health workers, nurses, community health workers, ergonomists, safety officers, doctors, and so on. I'm excited that the 2 colleges in Nigeria have recognized that for occupational health service, to work. You must have a specialized training for these individuals. And so now, instead of just having a generic certificate that says you're a community physician, you can now become specialized in occupational health service and learn more in depth about it. And I'm happy to hear that there are now degrees, postgraduate degrees being offered for public health nursing, public health pharmacy, and this and that and that. That is the way to go. We must build the capacity of those who are providing the services for occupational health. And we must integrate this occupational health service into primary health care. We have an agency solely for primary health care in Nigeria, National Primary Health Care Development Agency. They should integrate occupational health service at that level. In almost every city in Nigeria, we have tertiary hospitals. We have people in community medicine departments, many of whom have knowledge of occupational health. They can work with those at the primary health care level and integrate occupational health service right at that level from history taking. And we must mobilize resources through public-private partnership. First, of course, health is expensive, so we must mobilize the resources. But more importantly, we must engage community. They must know why we are doing this, and they can become advocates for change, particularly for informal workers. Because one of the things that we must bear in mind is that there's always resistance to change. Anything that will take their time or that will cause a disruption often will be resisted. But if we mobilize community enough, if we mobilize the informal sector enough, I'm sure that they will embrace it, particularly if we show them evidence. What is the role for you and I, those of us in the academia? We must review our curricula to embed implementation science. We must move from KLPs to problem finding to solution finding. We must move from paper, just paper, to research that can be translated to policy. We must prioritize our research partnerships with industries. We have industries in Nigeria that can partner with us. The raw material research industry is there. They are open to collaboration. We have an agency in charge of radiation in Nigeria. They are open to collaboration. We have the oil and gas industries who can collaborate with them. We must champion evidence that will drive policy. Once we begin to emphasize on evidence to drive policy, and that becomes the rule rather than the exception, before you know it, we'll have a critical mass of quality research that can drive policy. And given what the University of Port Harcourt is doing, particularly the public health school and the Center for Excellence, we must not merely be a center of academic excellence, but translate into a hub for translational impact. And that is why I was so excited when I saw this topic. It's not just a mere topic, but this is an issue that we should sit back and search deep inside us. How do we move into translational science? We must lead the charge. It's obvious that those in the health profession are about the most intelligent anywhere in the world. So we must lead the charge. And today I put it to all of us. Begin with yourself. Let's begin to ask the questions. How do we move from problem identification to policy, to impact? So I'd like to conclude by saying that universal access to occupational health and safety is a public health and developmental priority. For us in Nigeria at this stage of our development, we must prioritize occupational health service. For the academia, for policymakers, for health practitioners, we must champion it. We must champion impactful translational research. First, we must move from paper policies to implementation. Second, we must innovate in how we deliver services using technology and task shifting. Third, we must fill the data void with actionable research. And fourth, we must empower everyone through education. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's give him a standing ovation. Thank you very much, Professor Steve Abba, for this inspiring lecture. Thank you very much. We can now resume our seats. I understand that we have the national president of the Society of Occupational Health Physicians of Nigeria, Musa Shaibu. I don't know if he's around. Okay, that is fine. I don't know. Hello, sir. Can you want to give a Goodwill message, or do we wait and incorporate you as one of the panel discussants?
We
can do both.
That would be privileged, but I think I have some window now. I don't mind.
Okay. Please go on, sir. Please go on, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. And to help manage the time, I would like to request that I exploit the protocols that have been so well established. I want to really start by thanking the organizers for inviting SOFON to present this Goodwill message. We are really delighted at this opportunity. I also want to thank you for the theme of the conference, which really is something that excites us, talking about universal access to, occupational health practice. And finally, I want to also thank you for asking our own Professor Steve Abba to give the keynote address. I listened through, and I think it's quite inspiring. Now, you've dedicated the sub-theme of each of the specialty days of this conference, and for occupational health, we are delighted to note that the sub-theme with universal access to occupational health services in Nigeria. For we at SOFON, we consider this sub-theme very timely, very apt, and most appropriate because it resonates very well with a project we are currently embarking on. And that is the project of taking occupational health practice to all nooks and crannies where Nigerians work. And we are talking principally about the informal sector. For so many years, we've been focused on the formal sector and corporate organizations. You will see practices in the oil and gas industry, in aviation, in construction, and all the rest. But we've paid very little attention to the informal sector. And we are talking of, the woman selling akara by the roadside. We are talking about the adire makers in Abeokuta, for instance. We are talking of the fishermen in the riverine areas. How much of occupational practice are we taking them? And that is why, as president of SOFON, that has been one of my focus, that we must take this occupational practice, the fundamentals, to those, particularly the highly underserviced areas, who are exposed to a lot of hazards on a daily basis in the course of their livelihood. This is the project that SOFON is currently embarking on. And I speak to you, we are currently working on the protocols to ensure that, yes, when we launch it, maybe in the first quarter of 2026, it will be with, the standards and equity will be applied. And it will really reach out to every nook and cranny of this country, where we have a lot of Nigerians practicing. And it's on that note that I want to also exploit what I heard from Professor Steve Abba. We're talking about collaboration. And I want to assure you that this was our society. We are ready and available to collaborate with your Society of Public Health to ensure that the benefits of all the knowledge and skill that we have get to our compatriots wherever they are working. It's on that note that I congratulate you for this conference. I look forward to collaboration with you. My society look forward to collaboration with you so we can deliver on our various mandates for the benefit of Nigerians in all workplaces. Thank you very much, and do have a fruitful conference.
Thank you very much. I think I like that. They need to collaborate. That window, that's what we have been looking forward to. Thank you very much. Now we'll take a short break. That will be for cultural displays. And when we come back, we'll start the panel discussion and we have listed the discussants, Dr. Mba, Dr. Alamina, Dr. Ibiabuchi, and then if we have Dr. Bruce Ipiso, if he's around, we also incorporate him. And then, but as we usually do, we will also call upon the chairman and the keynote speaker to also make one or two comments, probably at the end of the discussion. And if the president is still around, we will also, or somebody, we will also want to hear from that society, which is very, very important, to the occupational health practice in Nigeria, especially as we look towards, work towards universal access. Thank you very much. So we'll have that short cultural display, and that will take us to 12:10. Guys, 10 minutes past 12, we'll come back and we'll start. Thank you very much. And please enjoy the rich cultural display from Rivers State.
Koruhi by me.
Benale mama wo.
Benale mama we.
Benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Bishop unemma ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Magori we ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Bishop unemma ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Ezo siasi ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Bishop unemma ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Lati opo ho benale mama we.
Benale mama. The boss.
Agua ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Lati opo ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Oh, no, ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Oh, no, ho benale mama we.
Benale mama.
Lati opo ho benale mama we.
Benale mama. Richmond and his group. Mr. Richmond and his group, aka my wife says.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. I was expecting them to play that one. My wife say, yeah, my wife say, yes, I like that. So that okay, thank you very much. Welcome to this segment, panel discussion. We have listed distinguished practitioners that will discuss the theme. They are people with diverse experience. We have an academician, practitioner in the formal sector, and a foremost occupational health provider. They will all be making presentations. Making presentations. Okay, so I will once again list them. Dr. Onyemba. Hello, Dr. Mba, can you confirm that you are around? Can you confirm your presence?
Good morning, Prof. I am here. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, ma. Thank you. So, Dr. Onyemba is a consultant community physician with the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, a key resource person in our program, not only in our occupational medicine program, but the other programs. Anyway, Professor Dr. Mba, unofficially, you are recognized as an SPH Professor of Public Health, because of the level of knowledge she has exhibited. Thank you very much. And welcome, Dr. Mba. Dr. Poroisho Alamina. Hello, ma. Can you confirm your presence?
I'm here, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr. Alamina is an occupational health physician with over 2 decades of diverse work experience across public health and private, sector. In her current role, she leads a multidisciplinary team creatively promoting, protecting, and optimizing the health and well-being of the workforce of an international oil company. She trained both in Nigeria and abroad at the University of Ibadan, where she had medical degree, where she obtained her medical degree, University of Manchester and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She's also a fellow of the West African College of Physicians in community health, and a member of several social and professional associations, including the Toastmaster International, Medical Women Association of Nigeria. She's currently the president-elect of the River State chapter and the Association of Occupational and Environmental Health Physicians of Nigeria. And she's currently the Assistant National Secretary. Welcome, ma. So we also have Dr. Okechukwu Ibiawuchi. Hello, sir. Are you on call? Dr. Ibiawuchi. Is he? Okay. Hello, sir. Can you unmute?
I'm on board.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Ibiawuchi is the medical director of Palmer's Hospital Limited, one of the foremost providers of occupational health services in Port Harcourt. He earned his medical degree from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in 1983, and in 2022 received an Icon Award from the Alumni Association for his contributions to medicine and humanity. He is a fellow of the West African College of Physicians in family medicine, and also holds a master's degree in healthcare management. And we also have, hello, Dr. Bruce Ibiso. Are you there? Are you around? Bruce, Ibiso Bruce. Is he there? Okay. So we can now, let's start. Usually we will start with opening remark from the panelists. So each of the panelists will give us their own opening remarks. And before we go into the question and answer section. Let's start with Dr. Yemba. Hello, Dr. Yemba. Your opening remark, please, ma.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I must stand on the existing protocol, and I want to thank my bosses. In fact, it's a privilege and an honor to be invited to Table of Elders. I want to thank the Director of School of Public Health, Dr. Professor Best Odina, for this opportunity. And then my other boss is the Chairman of the Society of Occupational and Environmental Health Physicians of Nigeria, Dr. Musa Shaibu. Then I also thank Professor Abba Steve, my teacher, and all my other panelists. With the kind of lecture that we just had from Professor Abba, it's safe to say that there's nothing else that we need to add to it, but I must lend my voice to what he said about universal access to occupational health. Yes, majority of the people who require these services are not covered, especially in Nigeria, because they are in the informal sector. And we know that universal health access to occupational health basically means that all workers, regardless of whatever kind of work that they do, or whatever their employment status is, be it fully employed, contract staff, day pay, or wherever they work, they must have access to essential health that helps to promote and prevent work-related injuries or accidents or diseases that people are exposed to at work. And this occupational health, this access must be such that it's provided to all, so that the workers' well-being is taken into consideration, and like he rightly said. And then also it helps in the economy of the country, because from the data, we also know that $1 that is added in preventing occupational health service can lead to over $5 that is saved or that is used. And it helps to also increase productivity and reduce the cost of business. Other advantages, it make sure that everybody has equal access to healthcare, irrespective of the kind of work they do. So these occupational health services must be available to all, and it must be comprehensive enough to cover both the promotive, the preventive, treatment, rehabilitation, and then even the relationships that happen at work in terms of intersectorial relationships in the workplace. It must be inclusive in such that coverage is everybody, doesn't exclude just the contract workers or the man who is working in a farm, or a woman who is frying akara by the roadside, or the woman selling bole at the roadside of Port Harcourt. It must be such that this access, when provided, provides financial protection to all employees or workers, irrespective of their work, and they must provide quality and affordable health care to all who needs it. Once we're able to cover the informal sector, which is a major contributor of our workforce, and most times, like we saw, are not being covered, we're able to address, able to provide them with health service, access to occupational health service. That will go a long way in improving the health and working condition and of all the workers in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we can go to Dr. Lamina for her opening remarks. Dr. Lamina, ma.
I'm here, sir.
Okay, yeah, brief opening remark.
All right. Good afternoon, senior colleagues and colleagues. It's such an honor to be part of this panel. Professor Best, I must congratulate you. I don't know how you do it, how you've been able to run a conference for over 11 days. This is definitely a feat. When I saw the poster earlier, I was amazed. But thank you for doing this. You have shown that indeed public health has multiple ramifications, and day after day, we've had a great taste of the different aspects of public health. I want to specially recognize all my senior colleagues here, my teachers and so on. For want of time, I would not be naming anyone. I want to thank the School of Public Health for the great job they're doing so far. I heard you earlier, sir, when you said about 100 graduates have gone through, or faucets, about 100 graduates have gone through. Thank you for improving access to occupational health knowledge and skills. This is homegrown. You've improved access. You've made it more available, more affordable, and more accessible. And you've removed or reduced the barriers to access. I want to just remind us that the world of work is changing. The world of work is changing. The keynote speaker has done real justice to this topic, and of course, the earlier speakers as well. And as the world of work is changing, so also should our mindset and our approaches to how we upscale, or how indeed we achieve universal health coverage. It is a journey, as we all know. We're not there yet, but we're not where we started. I remember a movie I watched a long time ago where the family was going on a vacation and the child kept asking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So it is a journey. UHC is a journey. We're on it. We're all in the bus. We're moving. We've made progress in various aspects. And just like our SOPON president said, a lot is going on even with media and so many other sectors of our economy. And there is still work to be done. And all of us have a role to play. In recent years, COVID has brought a different twist to things. Remote work has become quite common these days. We must not forget those that work from home. When we have artisans come to our homes to do certain jobs for us, we also need to remember that these artisans are workers. And the UHC that we talk about, they are also supposed to be a part of it. So I'm eager to hear from my other panelists, and I want to learn, and I would like to also share my thoughts. Thank you for the opportunity once again. And it's back to you, Professor Best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that opening remark. So we'll go to Dr. Okechukwu Biawuchi, a provider of occupational health services. Hello, sir.
Yes, I am here. I want to thank you, Professor Best. In all honesty, I didn't know that this conference has been going on until I received your reminder yesterday. I'm happy you're doing this. And like the immediate past speaker had said, running a conference over 11 days is not easy. You must be a magician to be doing that. So I commend your efforts. Unfortunately, I was not part of the audience when Professor Steve Abba gave his talk, and I regret missing it. I was rather involved doing some other things, and I hope I will not say what.
No, sir. We understand that you are very busy providing occupational health services. Can we just go ahead?
I will not. I hope you don't mind if I.
No.
No, I'm on.
Okay, so we can go ahead and if you can help share with us your experience providing occupational health services in Nigeria. I know you are one of the foremost providers.
Well, the truth is that in providing occupational health from the private practice perspective is a whole lot.
Yeah.
Well, there, and somehow you see yourself burdened with responsibility to provide occupational health services to these workers, to employees of companies.
Yes.
You're talking about your fitness to work.
Yeah.
You're talking about rehabilitating those workers that for some reason the company feels that maybe they should not be part of the workforce, and a whole lot.
Yeah.
But you discover that you have to apply quite some wisdom and knowledge in attending to those.
Yeah.
Years back, like you had noted, I left school 1983, and then how were we practicing it? We were talking about work-based compensation in those days. But I realized that sometime in 2010, there was an act of the National Assembly, and we started talking about employee compensation. In those days, you had to award, our interest, was mainly in trying to award some money or whatever to the damage caused to the employee. It's a different ball game now.
Yeah.
And you realize that at any point in time, you're with the employee. That is the truth. And that's what I tell my doctors.
Yeah.
So what do you do? But these things are not so well defined. Even in the act that the National Assembly passed, and it's indicated that it's the Ministry of Labor through the National Social Insurance Trust Fund.
Trust Fund. Yeah.
I will have to make all these compensations.
Yeah.
These are very complex issues. But as much as possible, we try to, wade through it and see that the worker is well compensated. As a practitioner, we make sure that there are these things that are built into our system to make sure that the worker is protected. That is the truth about it.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Funny enough, unfortunately, the companies listen to us. Lately, we've tried to engage the assistance of occupational health practitioners, the doctors, the nurses, and the therapists. And they are a bit of immense help to us in attending to this issue. But I also want to comment on something because I had heard about universal coverage on occupational health. And I keep wondering what we mean by that. And somehow we have kept talking about the people that should be covered, the category of workers, as it were. Somebody has talked about somebody in the fish pond, mechanics, and what have you. And I don't know the country in the world that now has complete universal coverage, except if they go through the health insurance route as much as possible. Some countries have tried to do that. So I think I want us to discuss that issue, the universal coverage as it affects professional health. And let's see how people can marry it with universal coverage of our health insurance that we're using now, general health. I just want to attend to that later. I'll be
Thank you very much, sir. I'm somehow curious. I know that the kind of services you have provided retainer, you have been a retainer hospital to these companies for a long time. It seems the services, the kind of services you provide, it seems it has changed over the years. Has it changed from the usual treatment of common diseases to occupational health services that are more preventive? Like you mentioned, the fitness to work and the annual medicals. It seems that they now emphasize annual medicals and now they do fitness to work. And these seem to be different from the usual practice of treating malaria and typhoid that some of the retainer hospitals were doing.
Yes, it has gravitated to annual medicals. Some months ago...
Has the services, yes?
Sorry. And it has gravitated to annual medicals. But I think...
No, I suspect that services. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't...
Okay. Sorry, sir. What I'm saying,
Yes.
Okay, let me reframe it. What I'm saying that in the past, it seems that the services, private hospitals provided the staff of companies were mostly curative. But right now it's moving into preventive services like fitness to work and the annual medicals?
Yes, yes, you are right.
Is it like that?
It has moved into that. That's what I'm saying. It has gravitated into preventive and rehabilitation services.
Yeah.
Now, for obvious reasons, because we realize that in doing so, you save money for the company, and the workers also benefit from that. Because let us face it, by the time some people finish working in some companies, you realize that they go home, quite very unhealthy. And in fact, there was a company some months ago that came to audit our practices. And after auditing, and I told them, look, it's a very big company. You guys are not doing well. Your retirees are all ill. And I don't know why people think that you're doing the proper thing. I think that you need to let us organize your company and tell you how these elderly people that come, they'll come a bit healthy, because most of them come in, looking quite ill. A lot of them come in, brought yet to the hospital because they didn't have, in the first place, they didn't have the routine fitness that they do. And even at retirement, they don't also do that. So we have recommended to them that even at retirement, they should now begin to get into all those preventive and promotive services. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. No, because those occupational hazards are slow poisons. Their manifestation may be towards retirement. So you are very right. Talking about this medical checkup, and in the medical school and medical ethics, we are told about confidentiality. I'm sure that it is a tricky event. It's very tricky in occupational health service, where at times you are paid by the employer to manage, to treat the employee. The sharing of medical records, I'm sure that is a tricky event.
Well, I agree with you that it's a tricky event, but honestly, what I think should happen and which doctors should do, which I do, I don't let out my patients' confidences on someone who is not medically trained.
Yeah.
So as much as possible, you let me to handle it. And honestly, I assure the workers that their jobs are not under any threat. I've had to stake the business I do with the companies, because of the patient. And yes, the company is paying me, but I have to stand by my profession. So luckily, if you have an organization that has doctors in-house, it will be better. Or worst case scenario, they should have nurses. But honestly, on no account should they such workers be victimized. For instance, if a worker is discovered to have HIV, you should not be victimized as much as possible. Yes, you should not. You have to come out to defend the worker, and we do that very regularly. And you see that the management does not have any option. Oftentimes, they don't have.
Yeah.
And I encourage my colleagues as much as possible to stand their grounds to defend the worker.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. I think I must thank you for what you have done and what you are doing and what you will continue to do. You even mentor some of us. Some of us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So we can, I don't know if you hang around, we may come back to you later. But let's move on to the other panelists. Dr. Mba, hello, ma.
Yes, sir.
The thing has to do with, the little occupational health service we have now in the country. It takes care of the staff in the formal sector, especially in companies where they value their workers. So how do we realize this universal health, universal access to occupational health? Do we need to train different occupational health and other occupational health? Do we need to train other health workers to assist in the provision of occupational health service. For example, in the definition of primary health care, it's actually stated that you have is to bring essential health care to as close as possible to where people live and work. What do you think? How do you think we will be able to achieve that?
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, I believe that for us to be able to. Hello, can you hear me?
That this is our
Hello, can you hear me?
Thing that's finally giving way. But
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. For
hello,
your
Dr. Mba.
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, I said thank you very much for your question on how to get universal access. I believe, just like the president, our keynote speaker said, that the priority should be, because for you to provide occupational health for all, it's you look at providing that service at the primary health center. At the primary health centers, where there's universal access to, you should be able to provide access, especially for those who are in the informal sector. So it's not necessarily having an occupational health physician there. No, you can train the people who are already working, you can do task shifting, train them and are able to identify some of the hazards in the prevalent work stations in that place. Train can be the nurses or a safety officer. And we know that ideally for you to provide universal health, provide occupational health service is not predominantly medical. It's supposed to be a multi-sectoral or multidisciplinary team. So you might even lead having safety officers in those PHCs, having good public-private partnership like what Dr. Bauchi is doing, and then also ensuring that through legislation and policy. In fact, we have a lot of policies that we but it's to translate it to the practice as it gets down to the common man. What do we do? Train those people who are already employed to be able to provide, so that they're able to identify the hazards, do some risk assessment, and they're able to also provide some promotional or educational services, health services to the health worker at those grassroots. That way we'll be able to reach a lot of all these informal sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what of existing health workers, like those that work at the primary health care level? Like
we can build their capacities, like I said.
We
can build the capacity. We might just have a nurse, but you might not train the nurse on how to identify occupational health issues and how to provide the promotional aspect of occupational health services. Their capacities need to be trained. Both the doctors, the people that work in the two, always ask that question, what do you do? And be able to tie whatever they present with to what possibly the exposure is in their workplace. That way, because we know that by the law that established the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency is the grassroots and people can easily access it. So if the people who work there, their capacity is built, improved through some certifications and trainings, and then some even qualifications, they were able to provide such services, even though that's not ab initio what they were employed to do. And then in cases where we have those who already have these skills and competencies and qualifications, we can also provide supervisory services to those PHCs.
Okay, thank you very much. Just, the keynote speaker spoke of this silo, occupational health service being regulated by different agencies in Nigeria, both in the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Health and other places. What do you think we should do to improve or better regulate occupational health services in Nigeria?
Just like you said, rightly, most agencies like outside the country, like in America, you have the OSHA, and those usually is a team of not just health workers. So we should have our own agency that is intersectoral, that brings in those from labor, those in the health sector, those in academia, so that we can actually transmit some of these researches in academia into practice in this. So when everybody who is involved, all the stakeholders form one team, we can have our own regulatory bodies that looks at our exposure limits and looks at context, things that can actually address our own problem as it relates to us, and not just domicile what ILO or WHO had done on the international level. So we need such agencies in Nigeria to actually work, not just being in paper or having the framework or domesticating those things without practicing it. There should be a body that collates all that to be able to work with SOFPON, APHPN, and even safety engineers, industrial hygienists, because we have all these different associations in different places working in silos. But there should be an agency or a team that where all these members are represented, so that we can make a holistic, practical recommendations that suits our own context.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. So let's go to Dr. Lamina. Hello, Ma.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I know that the gold standard, I must say, of occupational health service in the country is actually in the IOCs. Can you just tell us some of the services provided, occupational health services provided in the oil industry?
All right, thank you very much, and thanks to my other panelists for great contribution. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you. I like, okay, great. I like the point that Dr. Mba stressed towards the end of her contribution, where she talked about the need for an agency that sort of ties it all together. And what kept popping up in my head was collaboration. I know Professor Steve mentioned that earlier. Collaboration and coordination are critical if we really want to not just embark on that journey to universal health coverage, but to indeed arrive at our destination. So to your questions, what services are offered? Before I get into the core answer, I just want to state that the oil and gas industry, as we know, has multiple risks, and it's a wide spectrum of risks we're dealing with here, from the chemical hazards to the physical to biological, economic, and even psychosocial, because it's a place where there is shift work. So of course, fatigue can be a problem and so on. But not to drill too much into the issue of hazards. For any industry at all, one of the first things that the occupational health professional needs to do is to understand the business, understand the operations, the nitty-gritty of the operations. Because while you're there as an OT professional, you need to be able to speak the language of the business. You need to be able to communicate in a way that it is relatable to them. For instance, you have a handful of engineers. When you're explaining things to them regarding their health, you should be able to use illustrations that they can relate with. So some of the services that we offer, beyond the holistic taking care of the health of the workforce, we do medical surveillance for workers that are exposed to certain hazards. And of course, even our fitness to work is risk-based. It is tied to the role. It is tied to the job. So it's not a blanket fitness to work. We have protocols for different categories of workers. As you know, in the oil and gas industry, we have remote workers as well, those that work in remote locations. We have those that work in swamp locations and so on. So people are exposed to different things based on their job type and their locations as well. Now, the workplace is how we call a captive audience, right? We spend about a third of our day there. So it's a beautiful opportunity for health promotion as well. And occupational health professionals, we do a lot in that regard. We support the business regarding the health aspects of projects. So from time to time, the business expands, changes are made, and so construction and other things are going on. We need to consider the health aspects. So of course, medical emergency response, prevention of diseases, protection of the workforce, protection of worker health, and of course, even their work environment. So we say healthy worker, healthy work environment, productive workforce. So I'll just pause here for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have do you do all these things to meet regulatory standard, or is it to ensure that you have a fit workforce that will, as part of improving their productivity?
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. So as we all know, the oil and gas industry is highly regulated, and it according in a bid to meet the standards. So for an OH health professional in an oil and gas industry, it's important to be very conversant with the regulatory frameworks, both local and international. Now, there's something we call the PDCA. I'm sure as public health physicians, we're familiar with that, the denim cycle: plan, do, check, and act. Yeah. We have that mindset where we plan, we do, we check, and we act. And I want to talk about the C, which is the check. So while we go on to ensure that our workers are safe, our workers' health are protected, and so on, we check through things like audits. And there are periodic checks that are institutionalized already. So when these checks are done, it's a way of also testing ourselves. Are we really meeting up with the standards? Or is there improvement to be made here? So with that continuous improvement mindset, we know that there is no perfect system. And so periodically, they are usually pre-planned. The audits are pre-planned ahead of time, ahead of even the year, so that we keep ourselves on our toes and ensure that we are complying, not just ticking the box, so to speak.
Thank you very much. I was just wondering if you have, if there is a national agency that regulates the occupational health service. And we used to hear about these sentinel health events or notifiable occupational diseases. Do you have such? Is there any place? Do you report any of such notifiable occupational diseases to any regulator? I can't find one in Nigeria.
Yeah, indeed. So we have occupational health reporting, and the way the IOCs are structured, the country where you are, there is reporting there, and then of course centrally as well. So we report centrally, that is to the international body, and then to local. So Nigeria honestly has been a bit of a challenge, but it's a journey we're on. Yeah, but that requirement is there. We record and report.
Yes, I like the fact that you stated that the fitness to work is actually tied to the work, and I like that. Perhaps you have to help us throw more light. I know that I've done one or two EIA jobs, especially though if you are going to the riverine areas, you have to go and pass a swimming test, and HUIT for if you have to go and if you enter the chopper. How is it? Can you just throw more light on that? Because I just believe that aspect of occupational health service we have to stress, and even we have to stress even in training our students.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, thank you. So like I mentioned earlier, it's tied to specific jobs. It's not every single worker that gets a fitness to work there. It is risk-based. Yeah. So for instance, if you have firefighters, right? They help with, they are under the emergency service because of the nature of the industry, fire is a potential, exactly. So for them, the requirements are more, right? For instance, we do spirometry for them as well. You want to be sure what the state of their lungs are, because even with, so beyond that, they also undergo trade tests, what we call trade tests, because they will be wearing breathing, so they will be wearing breathing apparatus and so on. So for our remote workers, because they will be away from ready access, so to speak, to healthcare in that sense, they also have more stringent requirements, right? As well as we have a site clinic, of course, on the vessel for them as well. So it is a separate protocol for remote workers, separate protocol for professional drivers, for instance, for firefighters, for instance, and so on and so forth. They are categorized accordingly.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that even extends to the PPEs. I know that they are lower down in the hierarchy of control, they are also specific because I've seen a nurse wearing a safety boot in one of those. Yes, and so I'm happy that all these things have been. And the good thing is that we have students, and then they're also involved. I think I have. I can thank you very much, Ma. Let me.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Just to mention, now you mentioned students. You reminded me of something. So we've had the opportunity of hosting, if I'll put it that way, resident doctors from Department of Community Medicine and interns from UNIPORT, those undertaking the program, the MSc Occupational Health Program. And I think that that's a very good opportunity because when they come, they see how things are done beyond what they've been taught in the classrooms. And I used to coordinate the internship program. And at the time, one of the first conversations I have with them when they show up is, what is your why, right? Some of them come not knowing why the school has sent them to come for that rotation. So I always start with the why. And then we talk for a while just to be clear that you've not just come because your school has sent you to come and do a couple of weeks, but there is a reason. And so we discuss what the objectives are and what they hope to get by the end of their internship. And of course, we engage them in hands-on. So I think that's a very good opportunity that the School of Public Health should continue. It's working. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate. I think we have had a lot from you, and so thank you very much. I don't know if I can bring in if the keynote speaker and the chairman, if they can make a brief comment before we end this section. Professor Steve, so Professor Abba, are you still on call? Hello, sir. Okay, I'm sure. And the chairman, Dr. Roland White, we can now have their comments, and after that we'll close. I am aware that the Honorable Commissioner of Health of Akwa Ibom State is around. In fact, I don't know, he's even on site. I thought he would join. He has taken the pains to calm down. But the chairman, the keynote speaker, Professor Abba. Okay. So I think I can go ahead and give my vote of thanks. Sorry? Okay. Please, let's recognize the person. What's the name? You can unmute yourself and then say something.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
I hope you are hearing me.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Professor Abdu Onyembochu from FUSO. That's Federal University of Health Sciences of People. I've actually sent my comment on the chat box. I was thinking that maybe it was going to be read, and I have some concern.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, what I just wanted to add briefly is about the community engagement, and I think that if that can be done, it will also help. What I mean by that is that if these services can be community centered, where community will be involved, just as we have the primary healthcare services, it will go a long way, because bringing it down to the community will also help them to identify the problems and also provide solutions that can be used to address the challenges. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Occupational health services should be made available where people live and where people work. In fact, sorry, I even forgot to. Perhaps I should. Let me just ask. Dr. Lamina, you are still around?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Okay, Siri is back. I was just wondering, is it possible to practice occupational health without knowledge of the workplace or work condition?
No, sir, because I mean, as an occupational health professional, you need to have sound knowledge of the work operations as well. And that's why we talk about competencies. So beyond the qualifications, which may be required, what is more important is what can you do? Earlier, Professor Abba talked about the know-do gap. You can know something, but what can you do with what you know? And so certain competencies are critical. For instance, you cannot practice if you don't know the work itself very well, the work operations. How can you even do a risk assessment, which is core to occupational health practice?
Yeah. Yes. Which means if we gain employment to work in a place, I think one of the first things one should do is to go and study the work environment.
Absolutely.
And I hear that the hazards, a lot of them can now be measured.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think that trainees or students should have the competence to measure, or should they rely on the other practitioners?
So like I mentioned earlier, when we host, okay, go ahead, please.
No, go on.
Okay, yes. So when we host interns, master students, residents, and so on, we ensure that they do hands-on, right? When we go for noise assessment, we take them along, right? So whatever hazard is exposure data monitoring, they are part and parcel of it. Some of them may have come back to you with pictures, wearing coveralls, and so on. They were not just posing in the coveralls. We ensure that they get their hands, on the plow.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I know that the keynote speaker is here. Professor Abba, can you make your remark closing?
Yes, thank you very much. I've been listening very keenly to the comments from the panelists, and I want to thank them very much. They've helped to enrich this discussion. I want to respond very quickly to, I think it was Dr. Oke Biabuchi that mentioned the issue about the universal coverage for occupational health services. Yes, what we mean here is that every worker, everywhere, irrespective of the sector in which that worker is working, should have access to basic occupational health service and should, within his or her work environment, be guaranteed some level of dignity in the work that they are doing, protected by law, protected by the community. So in that way, we're saying that it doesn't matter whether you are working in Shell or whether you're in the oil industry or whether you are selling akara or selling bole by the roadside, you should have some level of guarantee that you are protected, in quote, to some entitlement, to be entitled to safe environment, which means that the agencies that are supposed to ensure safety are at work. If you have any issue arising from your work, there should be somewhere to go to, and you should be assured that you will get service. Now, I also want to talk quickly about the issue of taking this to the community. Now, in the last few years, we have worked on a social concept known as the participatory learning in systems, the PALS. A number of us were trained by SCDC on this way of relating, this way of working with people. And it's a little bit of a paradigm shift in that you are working beginning from where the people are, looking at the strengths of where they are as a community. Part of the challenge we have had with taking occupational health services to the informal sector is being that we start with the law. We come and we say, oh, you are not doing this, so you pay this penalty. You're not doing that, so you do this. And because of that, they shy away. What I advocate for is that we should start by supporting them. you should start if a welder is not wearing the helmet, for instance. First, we need to know why they're not wearing the helmet. And then we need to find out how to support them to wear it. Perhaps it is because they can't afford it or because they don't know. Like Dr. Lamina said, you start with the why. Why are they not doing it? You might be surprised at the reason why they are not doing it. So when we take this to the community and we get their buy-in, we understand their strengths, and then before we begin to work on their weaknesses, I think we'll go a long way. On this note, I want to once again thank the Professor Best and the School of Public Health for inviting me. And I want to thank most especially those of you who have tuned in to listen to this talk and making all the brilliant comments and contributions to today's discourse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So for us to make the access universal, it has to be fully incorporated into the primary care system, so that so that at least even if for education, because I'm sure that those grinding pepper, if you have been very close to them, you know that process is so noisy. I'm sure that nobody will grind pepper for 20 years and still be able to hear. Thank you very much.
Professor Best, sorry, Professor Best, can you allow me to comment a bit?
Okay, Prof. Okay, Dr. Biawuchi,
yes,
you are in the front line. I'm sure that you'll be wondering about the financing.
Yes, not just on the front line that way, but I want to particularly talk about our universal coverage and this occupational health.
Yeah.
When we talk about that, we must realize the kind of country and the system of government we run. Health, as it were, belongs largely to the concurrent legislative list.
Yes.
And so in other ways, it empowers the states to make laws on their own. The scenario that we have in this country where we, while the HMOs are there, you discover that what we are talking about, universal coverage, will not really sell through, as it were.
Yes.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah.
In this state, luckily, we don't have the HMOs running health insurance.
Okay.
So we can achieve universal coverage. This topic needs another whole symposium, honestly, because what we run in this state, we have our agency, what we call the Reef Chip Agency, the Contributing Healthcare Agency, and we ensure that is what we run in River State. Luckily, Lagos is doing the same thing. Initially, we were campaigning for this, honestly, right from the 90s, specifically 98, and a lot of people were opposed to it, but I'm happy that the Lagos State has gravitated to that. And then in River State, we insisted that it should be an agency. So this agency can now begin to attend to all we have been discussing here about the person in the fish pond, the person organizer, and what have you, all that category that's in the informal sector. We may not have problems in the formal sector, but legislating, monitoring, and enforcing, those who have these employees, no matter how small, will help us to get anything near to the, to universal coverage as a state. And I think all the states should adopt that. But if we have to, under the current NHIA, want to achieve that, it will be impossible. Because let us look at a place like America. Even as I'm talking to you, I know you're in a hurry. A place like America, you see that they still cannot achieve this universal coverage because of the kind of health insurance that they run. So there will be need to tie it to what we are running. River State stands a good chance to achieve that. But if it's going to be achievable on a national scale, I don't know how it's going to be achievable. So I think probably sometime we have to devote time to see that as much as possible, those who work and they are not well taken care of, some of I talk about risk assessment and what have you, the hazards and all that, and you see that a lot of organizations are not into that. Somebody had mentioned that ignorance is also a part of the problem. So maybe sometime we'll talk about it better, because somebody had asked on this, and now do we the involvement of national health insurance scheme? Well, I think it's how do that ask that question? In achieving universal health coverage for occupational health, and I think unless we do that, but certainly not on a national scale, unless we change that decision completely.
You know that we claim to run a social health insurance scheme, but we are not, because you have a scheme for the rich and a scheme for ordinary civil servants like us. How do you cover? How do you provide universal service? So thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful insights, and of course the possible ways of achieving that. But hopefully we are just thinking that even if it is in my community, they say, okay, is it Dr. Mba? They said even if the occupational health service is health education about those hazards, and when the sanitary inspectors were going around in the colonial and immediate post-colonial days, they were not just looking for insanitary conditions, they were also looking for hazardous work environment, and then compelling people to make amends. Dr. Mba, you want to make a comment before we'll... Yes.
Thank you, everyone, so far. I just wanted to add, yes, we looked at the organized formal sector. We talked about the informal sector. There's also the small and medium-sized enterprises that are also not able to provide these services for their people. And also looking at the issue of working in silos. We have a lot of students who end up doing the research is KAP. How do we transmit that? How do we work with the practical people who are in the field, so that we know what they do, whether what they do works, and how it can be recommended to our own context, so that we're able to give recommendations that actually are effective. So we need to really collaborate between the academia, the people in the different sectors working, and then even the employers themselves, so that we find something that works for us. We should be able to assess the ones they are using, are they effective enough? And usually there is this bottlenecks in trying to gain access in some organizations, because most of them are international organizations, or because they are business-based. There's those boundaries that is difficult to cross. So we need to progress from KPs to things like case control. What happened when you have seen the people? Relate it back to the exposure, and then try to do some intervention studies to actually assess the effectiveness of the things that are being done, and what can be done to make it better or adapt it to our own environment.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope at least we can do that and encourage those registering for the PhD programs to look at that, not just those KIP, but also to move up the research ladder. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for these wonderful contributions. I'm sure that we are wiser. We know better ways of ensuring universal access. So let me quickly give a vote of thanks before we'll finish. Let me start by thanking our Vice Chancellor, Professor Unari Abraham George-Will. I'm sure that he usually joins, he usually joins and he listens, and I'm sure that at the end of the day, today he will send me his comments. Thank you very much, VC, for all your assistance. Let me also thank the chairman of the day, Chief Dr. Roland Obed-White, thank you very much for that wonderful opening speech. You know, we held him in high esteem when we were medical students in the University of Port Harcourt, especially the encounter he had with Professor Briggs. Professor Briggs. So thank you very much. Yes, for you to be praised by Professor Briggs means you did a very good work. Thank you very much for that wonderful speech. And then I have to also thank Professor Steve Abba, easily one of the most influential occupational and environmental health practitioner, both in academics and professionally, as one of the consultants of Amber Associates. Amber Associates. If you have been in environmental health study, you will have heard. You have heard. I'm sure that, but I'm sure that he no longer goes to the field, though. he's now fully involved in writing the reports and other higher things. Thank you very much, Professor Abba. You know, your contributions have been underrated. In fact, it was even in course of preparing for this that I was able to make that connection. I was wondering why they would want me to put this occupational safety issues in the EIA report. I didn't know that you are the one that started it and created more created much problem, created problems for less endowed persons like us. Thank you very much for what you have done. I'm sure that zero safety, zero mortality, or goal zero that a lot of these oil companies they talk about. Now I know who inspired them. Now I know who inspired them. Growing up in my community, we used to say that Derrick, they chop people. They chop people. In fact, before you go up, you will sign your death warrant. But now Go Zero is widely practiced. Thank you very much, Professor Steve Abba. Let me also thank the expert panelists, great, wonderful for their wonderful contributions. Dr. Onyemba. Anyway, I don't know if the university will let me. I will fully, or she has to be fully recognized as a professor of public health, especially because of what we are even beginning to compile. Just as Thomas Legg has his own aphorisms, we are beginning to build the SPH aphorisms. And a lot of those aphorisms were actually inspired by the contributions of Dr. Mba. Dr. Mba, thank you very much for everything. Let me also thank Dr. Alamina, wonderful lady, made wonderful contribution, practical contributions, gave us wonderful insights into occupational health practice in these international oil companies where they practice. I think they are the gold standard. She's very versatile, and then of course I forgot to mention that she's the president-elect of the Medical Women Association, Rivers State branch. Medical Women Association is the strongest medical association in Nigeria. Medical association in Nigeria. Thank you very much for that contribution. Dr. Okechukwu Ibiawochi, wonderful person, mentor and pioneer. And yes, the medical director of Palmer's Hospital Limited. In fact, almost a lot of persons that are engaged, that work in these companies. I'm sure that they have interacted with him and interacted with his hospital. Thank you very much for what you do and what you will continue to do, and thank you for pioneering occupational health, excellent occupational health services in Rivers State. Thank you very much. I must also thank the president of SOFON, Dr. Musa Shaib, for his contributions. In fact, I actually like that relationship we have been able to establish, and I'm going to explore that even further. And I know that the contact, let me also acknowledge Dr. Selepri Orubai. Okay, sorry, it's Orubibi. Well, we used to call him Orubai, the Givenchy in medical school. Thank you very much, Sele. Sele, you have been wonderful, right from, I think it's more than 30 years since we met in the University of, no, we graduated 30 years ago, so it should be much more. We are getting old. Thank you very much, Selepri. Then I have to also thank those that have helped in this occupational health program. Let me start with Professor Emmanuel Agowa. Emmanuel Agowa, he was our first resource person before, and then my brother and senior colleague in the Lord, Chief Sir Professor Kingsley Eyinaya Douglas, for his contributions. I won't say, let me formally and publicly acknowledge his assistance publicly and privately towards the growth of the occupational health service. And then I have to thank him especially for the constructive criticisms. Okay, so I have to also acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Commissioner of Health, Akwa Ibom State, who took time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I didn't, okay, I now understand when you told me about your challenges. Thank you very much. The Honorable Commissioner of Health is here with us now. I don't know if you can just, I'm just giving my vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I joined late online because I thought it was a physical meeting, and the initial invite I got said first session 1 to 3, second session 3 to 5. I didn't know things had changed, and I thought it was a physical meeting. So I got to the office this morning and was rushing down to my alma mater to honor the great work that Professor Best and his team is doing with the School of Public Health. But I'm glad that I listened to quite a bit of the session after I got in touch with him, and he did say that it was a virtual conference. I'd also like to thank very specially some of the pioneers that he has already mentioned. Those are people that we hold in the ISS team right from our days as students. And even now, we're still students. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much for supporting Professor Best to do everything he has done. He's been quite an inspiration to us as medical students, and then to see that he could pioneer the School of Public Health and has made it one of the most outstanding School of Public Health in Africa is something that gladdens my mind, because I actually like to see good things follow good people. So I'm actually happy to be a part of this, and I'll continue to support the great work that is being done here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much. So on that note, we'll just start the closing formalities with the University of Port Harcourt item, followed by the national item.
voice of the universe from far and near, the pride of Uniport echoes. Uniport,
Thank you. We'll take the first stanza of the national anthem.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all and proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, thank you very much. Thank you. So, we have come to the end of this this section. Thank you very much. We wish you safe journeys back to your destination. And if you're at work, you can now continue with your usual work. If you are in and around University of Port Harcourt, we have some refreshment for you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we'll see around 4 p.m. for the presentation of abstracts. Thank you very much. Thank you.